Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Sean Schoenmakers, the owner of Action Coach Dallas, where we are helping business owners build and grow their businesses to ultimately improve their lives. Today, we have Sergei Marojevic with QCharge. Sorry, fumbled through that a little bit, but hopefully I got it reasonably there, Sergey. He's the owner of QCharge, and so he's going to be our guest today. We're looking forward to hearing some of the details about Sergey's travels, not travels, but traveling for business life, and here's some of the details about what he does in his business. So really glad to have you on. How you doing today, Sergey?
I'm doing fine, Sean, and thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So if it is your first time subscribing or first time being on the channel, make sure you subscribe, like the video, do all those things so you can get the notifications when we get more of these great videos online so you can continue to get more of the learning. And so without further ado, Sergey, could maybe you tell us, just maybe give us an introduction to your company and tell us about the problems you solve.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for the opportunity just to be able to present everything that we do, and also, the knowledge behind it that we have actually with an excessive years of being in this industry. How I started it, well, actually, first of all, my origin is from Serbia. So I ventured here in 2000 year in United States. With my mechanical background of engineering, I found myself very fast into the construction industry. And that kind of out of that, I evolved from general construction to be more focused to the electrification of United States. And little by little, already the 2006 was the first time that I kind of faced myself with the challenges of placing the charging stations. It was very, very early stage. That was when the time when Elon Musk and Tesla were basically just starting to building their vehicles, and there was no infrastructure. Nobody knew anything much about how to actually do this. So since then, I've been already engaged into the electrification on a high level. But I'm going to say that the past, let's say about 7, 8 years, I focused more solely to the electrification, specifically the charging stations, and help out actually to all the constraints and issues we are facing today, from non-operable hardware to the software, also deployment, engineering. The problem with this industry that we face today is that we have so many bureaucratical, I would say, entities that we have to go through before we actually get the permission to do the installation. So in general, I was already 25 years in electrical construction, right? Contracting and doing the business and installation from sophisticated properties and projects to not that much, right? To even to the residential. But my main focus of the business is 90% is in a commercial industry and of course business to business. Um, so we started with QCharge, right? After being successfully deployed already two companies, well, let's say not deployed, but I helped actually two companies to develop their EV departments in Los Angeles. One of them is, let's say, I can mention it's Loop Company that I actually helped them to build all their department in the beginning with the electrical, I would say, trade, and also my knowledge. And after I ventured from California to move in Texas, I decided it's time to start my own company. And in that period, I actually met my business partner, who is already 50 years in auto industry. Just by that combined knowledge of his and mine, he's being 50 years in auto industry, me already being over 25 years in electrical contracting. It was kind of, the right way to kind of venture into this. And since I already placed over 30,000 charging stations with my direct and the indirect installation, or at least supervision, I pretty much faced with almost every type of the charging station in the past, which was a lot of them today, they are already outdated hardware and of course the software. So I kind of focused to see where the problems are, specifically first from the hardware aspect, what are the improvements we need from the engineering part, where I have 9 electrical engineers, and we kind of tap into that, which elements that needs to be internally being improved. And then, of course, the biggest brain of all these operations is the software side. So without the software, you cannot operate. And that is the biggest issue that we find right now in the United States, beside the vandalism, is the software, right? When the software stop working, the charging stations not work. That basically leaves people stranded on the streets, being not able to charge. So then the system comes on in place.
Mhm.
However, just by knowing all the problems we have, I did focus with my team. Of course, nothing I achieved by myself. With my team, that we can tackle on these problems and how to actually make sure that the software and the charging stations can stay all the time being on and operable. So right now we are already very comfortable that we can say that 99% of the charging stations in our networking will be on and operable because we have multiple ways that we can actually solve let's say networking connectivity and our operations, which I can tech down the line of all those tech advancements we achieved.
Cool. So it sounds like obviously you're handling a lot of issues, challenges with keep the charging stations. So do you install them, you service them, you do both, you do all the above?
Yes. So this is the beauty, let's say, of the small business entities as I am in our company, is because we are more customer customer focused, right? So all the stuff that we can achieve, I mean, do for our customer, that they don't have to go through the multiple entities and try to figure it out who is going to be their person in a corner. We try
Hmm.
to take care of everything from providing the hardware, providing the software,
Hmm.
providing the installations, all the engineering and permitting, all the hoops that we have to do, we're going to do it for you. So it's basically kind of like a turnkey solution, right? And we do have also a lot of flexibility because compared to, let's say, to the bigger companies like ChargePoint or Blink or some other companies, they have their set rules. So you as a client, as a customer, you gotta go by those rules or no
Hmm.
deal.
Yeah.
Uh, our structure, it's more different. So we will try to find our customers and clients, what is your need and how we can actually help and improve. So
Yeah.
it's not only we are very flexible and we can actually help out to anybody. So far, for in the past 2 years, everything that we have in our network, only one charger went offline, which we fixed it in 24 hours.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like those big software systems that you can buy, of course, or subscribe to, but they have sort of limited variation or limited modifications they can make. But you guys are a little bit smaller, more adaptable. You're more, like you said, customer focused. So that's pretty cool. And not only that, you mentioned all the different, basically disciplines you basically cover within the charging station space. So instead of getting mechanicals, software, electricals, all these people, you guys are the one stop. So yeah,
Correct,
super valuable.
correct. But look, from the aspect, I'll tell you from the aspect of the hardware, right? We're also the only company worldwide right now that our charging stations are coming with standard equipment of systems, which is a big thing right now. These days, they're talking about, potential fires of the charging stations being deployed indoors,
Mhm.
for example, inside the garages where the building can potentially get damages or burn down. So some of the states, they're already trying to mandate that the charging stations cannot be installed inside, indoor, right?
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
we can overcome all that stuff with our fire suppression systems that there are even that are standard equipment in our charging stations. They are made to be universal fit. So any charging stations outside currently being already deployed, we can provide also fire suppression systems for them as well.
Yeah. Well, you're covering it all, so definitely a great resource, I'm sure, to your customers. So we definitely talked a little bit about kind of how you started the business. Why'd you start this business, Sergey?
Well, I mean, as we can see, the entire world it's shifting, right? So it's not just because something that why or the reasons behind it would be just to give that support when it's needed, it right to the because the demand is just rising and it's big, and I'm already in electrical business for a long time,
Hmm.
so it's basically just kind of the whole industry just chose me, right? It wasn't my choice. It's just kind of the whole
Nice.
world is shifting to that. So I said, you know what? Let me
Okay.
just go not with the trend, but let me try to help and solve these issues that we have. Since my mechanical engineering right background, I like challenges in my life. So when it's like, for example, any problem that I can see, I try to find solution for it. It's just something that I've been all my life around the puzzles, and I like to solve the problems. So we have a lot of problems in the United States with that, and I try to be a visionary ahead of a time, how to solve the problem, in which way we can actually make and improve all these elements we have today to be better for us, because we are, unfortunately, in the United States, when it comes to the electrification and use of the charging stations, very behind.
Yeah. So as the market grew and the problems grew, you were chosen, as you say. Sergey, you got the answers. Let's help solve the problems. So I like it. So who primarily does your business serve? So if I'm in the audience, how would I know if I'm a good fit for your business as a customer?
Well, to be honest with you, since we are very, very flexible, we can work with anybody. It doesn't matter how big or small as a customer you would be. The way how we actually work, it's like this, in generally first are the, generic questions, right? What is your property? What is the surface of your property? Is that like a retail space? Is it a parking? Is it a hotel? Is it a shopping mall? Whatever it is, there is a different approach and a different scenarios. Then the next step is, of course, to find out, okay, do you want to have a level? Or what is your footprint of the traffic, right, to your property? Is it a short or a long term? If it's a short, then we will always recommend go with the fast charging stations because you want to rotate those people very fast. Now, if it's a long term, let's say if it's a shopping center or let's say restaurant or hotel, there is not necessarily that you're going to need to go and spend a lot of money on the charging stations that they cost on a DC, which is a fast charger. You can go with a slower charge, right? Because your footprint or those customers and clients will stay longer to your property. So while they, for
Mhm.
example, they're charging the vehicle, why not go to the coffee shop or go to the lunch or go to there? So you're going to
Yeah.
generate the revenue also from your from people, staying to your property longer, right? Now, the next step would be, of course, identifying if the property has sufficient power that we need. Now, if we don't have that, we do have also strategic partners and solutions that we can create off-grid solution. Let's say instances in Los Angeles, we are already facing in some locations, for example, that LED cannot bring the power between 2 to 4 years.
Mhm.
It's just because the demand of electricity is high. It's not only the electric charging stations and electrification of the cars, but it's also AI, data centers, and all that kind of stuff that today they're using so much of a vast of the energy, including the cryptocurrency miners and all that kind of stuff that we are today facing that electricity is needed. So all that stuff, it will require support. So that's why I'm saying I think that electrification and being into this industry the way we are, we're in the right space and right place because the demand is going to be just rising and it's going to be very, very high. And that's why I think that the future, um, at least here in the United States, will be the nuclear plants. A lot of people are afraid of the nuclear plants because they think, oh, it could explode, the Chernobyl and all kind of stuff. But those micro nuclear plants are actually renewable energy and they're more sustainable than they were before.
So yeah, basically, if someone has a charging station, period, could be a good fit for your company. So
I can give you a quick analytics that we've done. So since we talked a lot to the people that they are gas station operators, right? And since we don't know, right, that today all vehicles we are depending on some type of sustainability where you can gas up, right? Tomorrow it's going to be where you can charge. So it's kind of very similar way of transition between the gas stations because they want to implement the charging stations to their locations. Most of the people that we talked, they said that their profit margin is about 10 cents per gallon. Compared, let's say, to the kilowatt, it can go between 30 to 40 cents per 1 kilowatt. So the profit margins are way better. And on top of that, not only that is lucrative for the charge point operators, but it's also good for and beneficial for the consumers because the kilowatt, even that in a mine, the profit is bigger to the charge point operator, but the cost of electricity it's way lesser that you're going to spend per month than you're going to spend on the gas. And plus, you have all other benefits to it, right? So you have less of a maintenance on the vehicles and so on and so forth.
yeah.
So it is just lucrative thing, and it's also beneficial just in generally for population, right? You want cleaner air in the cities because the biggest pollution it's where the biggest populations are, and that's the big cities. So
Mhm.
we try to actually reduce that carbon footprint. That by that is also we're improving our health and our lives in just in general, right?
Yeah. Good stuff. Glad we had you on the job. So, what about let's touch on marketing. What marketing is something that can sometimes be a challenge for a lot of businesses out there. What's been the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most customers or the most business?
Well, yeah, I mean, marketing is one of the big keys in this industry. Unfortunately, because we have in the past couple of years several bad apples that they created a bit of, I would say, distrust of this electrification, or they're going to be very skeptical because of charge point. I mean, charge point operators or charge point networkings do not work, right? So they have kind of, let's say, skeptical approach to it, and they're like very hesitant. Now, also with the change of administration, that they're right now they're saying that they want to obstruct a lot of those fundings and rebates and programs. So people are becoming a little bit of skeptical, and but I think it's just re-education of the people. That's all what the biggest I believe so issue we have today on this market. It's re-education of people. Why is this beneficial and how it can be beneficial to everybody? But the marketing, as we know, it's very expensive and it takes a lot of platforms that you can actually reach out the majority of the people. So we are so far we're utilizing all the social medias, right, that we have from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's very good, right, for the business networking connections. My partner, it's actually a member of YIPO, where we also um, can get a lot of connections and networking that there are real estate owners and I mean, just in management place,
Yep.
because they will need charging station. Some of those states already mandated that, I believe so it's right now, depends of the state, state to state, but I know that the minimum requirement is 2% of entire parking space. It should be available for the EVs.
Mhm.
I know that California is already leading, I believe, so it's even higher percentage-wise. So that's already becoming kind of the part of a new developers that they will need to kind of look into the future, any type of a planning.
Okay. So it sounds like social media, as you said, and then maybe some networking, maybe, but maybe in particular targeted groups.
Correct, correct. And then, of course, we do have also our own podcast as well, where we're talking mainly about the technology advancement, problems, constraints, and which way you can actually achieve certain goals and where to who and to reach. So we do have a lot of marketing in that way. And then the last piece is going to be the expos, right? The expos, it's one of the biggest marketing place where you can actually seize the opportunities, network with the good potential future partners, and of course the clients.
Nice. Awesome. Well, so if we look back at your journey, because you've already had a bit of a journey. What would you say has been the most memorable, or maybe the most challenge, or sorry, the hardest challenge that you had, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, the hardest challenge is our bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So, because like I'll give you an example. It doesn't even matter if I have to put one charger or 100 chargers to one location, my bureaucratical process is the same.
Mm.
And this is that we find out in this field very challenging for, let's say, people when you try to find who will do the installation for you, because we do not have unified law that you can with one license, electrical license, work through entire 50 states. You have to actually find crucial partners per each state who is going to pull the permits for you and who is going to be the overseeing the construction and implementation and installation. Sometimes the people they become discouraged because it takes between 6 to 8 months before, in a best case scenario, right, to get permit from the
Mm.
cities and officials that you can actually implement the installation. And then installation for you is going to take 3 to 5 days, maybe 2 weeks, but you burn almost 1 year before you're going to actually do something. So a lot of people, because of that, are becoming discouraged. A lot of companies, unfortunately, as we see in the past, they also have a lot of financial constraints and losses because they have to sustain themselves as a company before they're going to get permit that actually can sell the equipment and become profitable, right? And that's, I think, that is a big one of the biggest issues. Second biggest issue, like I said, it's also the mindset of the people, right? We can see what is happening today is political stuff or non-political stuff, but there are a lot of people being against the charging. I mean, electrification and electric vehicles. We can see what's going on right now also with the Tesla vehicles, right? With all the vandalism across the nationwide, which I think it's ridiculous. I mean, they're not hurting them; they're hurting actually insurance companies and they're hurting consumers, people, the owners. That right now they're all even being afraid of driving the EVs.
Mhm. Yeah. So, how have you guys? What have you? So, a lot of bureaucracy, tough to get the permit. 6 to 8 months. I mean, that's a long time. So, what have you guys? How have you been able to overcome that?
Well, he's just our, let's say, the knowledge and proper people, right? So we kind of already understand, since the past experience of 8 years being into this field, we know, which process needs to go, step by step to Z, so we can streamline it. And then depending, of course, of the areas and regions, when we also reach to some new areas that we never worked or new states, we at least know what to do and which way to go and speed track it, right? Bigger cities takes a little bit more time. Smaller towns, it's way faster. So it's basically just our knowledge because
Yeah.
we're the team of the people that we're all coming from a different type of a companies, but we're all already worked in this industry for a while. I'll
Yep.
give you an example. My director of sales, David Hughes, right? He is already before even to met me. He was the charge point operator of 200 units of himself,
Yeah.
different locations, different states. So he already knew his own problems, why the charging station doesn't work, where's the problem, the feedback from the customer and clients, what
Yeah.
improvements they would like to see. So we basically implement everything.
Okay, yeah. So you're not so much getting around it as you are minimizing it, right? You're doing with your knowledge and your expertise, you're still having the same challenge, but you guys know what to expect, and so therefore can make sure the right people and the right scenario is put into place so it's the least amount of headache.
Correct, correct. And
Gotcha.
look,
Cool.
also the way how I try to structure our company, and including myself, right? Yes, I am co-founder, I am a CEO, but not so long ago, 10 years ago, I was actually teaching people, how to how to do the bending of the pipes, which way to do the installation. So I was also in the field, running the projects. I was also helping guys to install it. So I was basically hands-on. Also kind of makes me a little bit different than maybe majority of the CEOs, specifically from the bigger companies, because I know also the product and all the constraints that our people in the field can face it, right? Also from the
Yeah.
engineering, also from the permitting, also from the aspect of the um, uh, inspections from the cities, right? How
Mhm.
to actually conduct the inspections. So all that stuff we kind of already know, and it's just our vast experience in the field.
Cool. What about team? You just kind of mentioned some team, field workers, people like that. What's been your biggest learning as an employer so far in business?
There's a lot of people going to say that they know, but they don't know. It is so
What?
new.
People do
Yes,
that? Get out of here.
it is kind of like a, let's say, new industry, right? So it's shifting every day. There is like all the time improvements from the hardware, software aspect, firmware, from the new elements,
Mhm.
new demands. So if I'll be honest, even for me, for example, if I'm 1 week away from my work, for example, and if I'm not keep the track of what's going on, I have to play the catch-up game. And it's very difficult to follow all these technological advancements. We are on a fast track compared, let's say, to 10,
Yeah.
15 years ago. It was
Yeah.
very slow. You had
It's only
time.
getting
Now,
faster. Yep.
yes. So that's a problem, right? As an employer, when we are trying to, I mean, look, everybody can sound on the resume very, very good on a paper, but in the reality, sometimes when the action speaks more than actually the paperwork and the words. And unfortunately, we did had a lot of issues hiring people when they said that they know how to do this, and eventually they don't know. And I always say to the people, don't overpromise. I mean, that's at least my also the way how I am. I will never overpromise. I will give you promises on what I can deliver for sure, but I will try to
Yeah.
always deliver more than I promise.
Yeah. Those are good words to live by. I hear this a lot with the contractor space where, you try to we hear guys, oh yeah, I interviewed them. I asked them if they could paint. And they said, yeah, I asked them if they could do this, if they could do this, they could do that. And it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, they're gonna say yes, but it's like that's pretty subjective. Can you paint? Well, can you build a charging station? Sure, I can build a charging station, right? But if you
Yeah.
ask them more the detailed questions or hey, how do you build a charging station, things like that, then great. Depending on what they say, you can assess whether they can accomplish
Correct.
what you want
Correct.
them to accomplish. Yeah.
I mean,
So
just what you mentioned from the aspect of the contractors, right? Electrical contractors today, even if you're an electrician, you're not enough. You need to know also of how to do the software, how to do the commissioning, how to do the certain other elements than only electricity, because this is not pure electricity. It is
mhm.
very, I mean, look, the charging station, the way I see it, it's only sophisticated outlet, right? It does
Yeah.
has a brain of operation. You have a lot of stuff inside the machine. But the charging stations, and this is also what a lot of people don't understand. The charging station is basically just the delivering of the power, restricted power, to ensure that your vehicle or the building is not going to get damaged, right? The charging components are actually inside the vehicle. So a lot of people don't know that. So also the speed of the charging sessions also depend on your vehicle because not every car can accept more than, let's say, average across the board on average vehicles they can accept it in 60 to 90 kilowatt per hour on the charging sessions. Now you
Hmm.
do have some vehicles that they are like Cybertruck or Ford Lightning or some other like Porsche Taycan that they can accept more than 200 kilowatts per hour.
Yeah.
So those are basically that a lot of people don't understand that. And
Yeah.
like I said,
It's like
it's just for education of people how to use the new technology today.
yeah, it's like the phone chargers, right? Some of the phone chargers have faster or slower amperage, and they do
Correct.
faster or lesser charging. So
Exactly.
yes,
Look, it's
yeah,
nothing different than the phone charger, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Basically, what your
yeah,
car is, it's the phone on the wheels.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, but again, like you said, not everyone really understands all that. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, cool. So what about if you were to start over today? So redo the company. We're starting fresh as of today. What would you do different?
I would do it even in a slower pace. So,
Okay.
in a way, when I started my company, was I just wanted to kind of first offer the installation services to the other companies because I found out that that's actually the biggest constraint is to find people that they know how to fast implement the installations, and that is actually, to be honest with you, our strongest forte in the experience, right? Um, but when I started it, the need for the and the demand for the really good hardware and good software, it just kind of landed on our lab that we actually had to do it. So I was kind of running everything simultaneously while we were running the and doing the installations for other companies. We were simultaneously developing our hardware and software. So the only thing that I would potentially maybe do, I would pause maybe more on the hardware and software development, structure the more company onto the installation services more strongly before to kind of venture into all other elements because the faster you try to develop, the more money it requires, the more people you need to have, the higher the overhead is for you, which can potentially put you down the line in financial constraints where you're going to tap in the money. Because, like I said, with a couple bad apples that we had in the past, now the people who believed in this industry are more hesitant to do the investments.
Hmm. Yeah, I would actually. So I would call that less breath, more focused. Which is kind of what you're saying. Okay, look, we wouldn't do all these things. We would start out mostly with this stuff and get really good at it, or kind of hone in on that, and then we'd add. And I always try to. We talk about this sometimes with clients. I try to remind them of Amazon because everyone knows Amazon. They do everything. But I was like, they
Yeah,
didn't used to do everything, right? They started out with books, then they moved to online stuff, then they added music, then they added videos, right? It wasn't just like they didn't start with everything. So in any case, I totally hear you on that. Makes a lot of sense. That's what a lot of the folks that are, of course, now do everything have done because they did it that way. So,
yeah, but
um,
but unfortunately, we are on a fast track, so
yeah,
you just have to kind of go with that
yeah,
speed.
you manage it. You try to do your best, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what's the next goal or milestone for you, Sergey, at this point?
Well, look, I mean, there is a lot of things that I am. Basically, let's put it this way: I live today, but I everything that I do it's for the future. So all my vision that I have, it's ahead of the time. World is just moving too slow for me. But what I would like to do, it's definitely the future is wireless technology. I already do have the concept of wireless technology that actually even all our charging stations today in the future can be very easily converted to the wireless technology, depending how fast the wireless technology is going to be adopted into the vehicles. They're
Hmm.
already talking about it. They already start talking about it.
Yeah.
That's definitely it's coming in the future. The next concept, what we try to also focus is to how to prevent the vandalism. That's also one of the biggest issues that we face today. It's cutting the cables and cords because of the copper and recyclers of the copper. So that's is very difficult to kind of prevent. There are currently certain couple solutions floating out there with some type of specific sleeves with a dye inside. If somebody tries to cut it, it's going to explode in your face. And also the elements inside. Yeah, and it has the elements of inside of that material with the steel stuff that is kind of more difficult to cut. It takes you longer time.
Yeah.
What is also good is also have the type of a communication with the software, which we call it OCPP platform, which can also send a notification that something like that is in the progress. So that's not our development, but we are partnering. We already know where we can actually get it. Our solution that we have, and we solve at least with an AC chargers, which is level 2 charging stations, we have a specialized cabinets. Instead of having the charging stations with the pedestals, we have a cabinet. That cabinet will unlock for you uh, and give you access to the cable. So basically, when you activate the charger, the door is going to open. You're going to get to the cable, charge it. Once you finish, it's your responsibility to put the cable back and close the door. After the closing the door, the charging session is going to be finalized, not before. At least we can, at least on the side of the level 2 charging stations, we can prevent that.
Mhm.
And that's going to be developed, let's say, in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be available. In the
Cool.
same concept, we're trying to create some universal fit for the DC or fast charging stations, so that we can prevent the theft of the cable until we do not figure it out what is the next step. European unions, for example, they solve the problem very easily, and they are having basically their public facing charging stations only with the socket, not cable. So you as a client, as a customer, you are responsible to have your own cable in the car. When you get to the public location, you're going to be able to charge. Now, the problem with that stuff is the cable on a AC or level 2 charging station, that's easy to carry, but it will become very challenging on a DC because those cables are very big and very heavy.
Mhm. I'm waiting for the time, Sergey, when you can pull up and you click a button, the easy button, and boop, car is charged. So when you get there, let me know. I'll be the first customer. So
It's coming there. It's coming there. We already have a patent pending for our charging stations on integration of AI cameras.
yeah.
So basically, your AI camera, as long as you're in our database and you opt for that, right, as a customer through our privacy and terms conditions, that you're going to opt for your license plate and face recognition. Once you're approaching to the charger will be already activated for you before you get out of the car. So no app, no nothing. You basically just plug it. The AI camera is going to do everything for you. So that's at least our first buy step before we're
Yeah.
going to convert to the wireless.
Cool. Good stuff. Well, before we get to the last question, Sergey, how can others learn more about you and your company? How can they get in contact?
That's pretty easy. Our website pretty much holds all the information, even our specifications of all elements that we are providing, which is QCharge123.com. Over there, you can find also our contact webmail, or they can contact us directly through our info at QCharge123.com. Or through the phone number that is also over there to the office. They can leave us a voicemail, or somebody's going to pick up. We usually reply within 24 hours on any voicemail if we by any chance miss somebody.
Okay. Well, any special offers you'd like to offer any listeners?
Well, matter of fact, yes. I mean, we do have a special offers for right now, since we still don't know what's going to happen with these importing tariffs. But we are offering for the buyers up to, let's say, before the August of this year, that every our equipment who is going to be purchased at this moment, we're going to give 10% discount.
Okay, good. I like it. Good offer.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Even
Well,
though, even though, sorry to cut in, even though that we are already about 30 to 60% competitive on the pricing in the US market.
yeah. Well, I'm sure the listeners will appreciate it. So, well,
I hope
Sergey,
so.
thank you very much for being on with us, and thanks to the audience for watching. Hopefully, you got some good tidbits from Sergey and his journey. And so, until next time, make it a great one.
Thank you for having me on your show.